When me and TJ received the October 2019 Forbidden List, we kind of have a little bit of a chuckle because a lot of people were claiming that Orcust was dead. But if you guys take a look at the stats that we have, we still think Orcust is a tier 1 deck. Yes, it's a lot more restricted, not being able to play in hybrid variants, but in this video, I'll be able to explain to you the card choices that I play for a competitive Orcust deck for the October 2019 format. Of course, as always, you guys are watching TheCaliEffect, King of Games, and if you would like to see more videos like this, then make sure you destroy that subscribe button, but also hit that notification bell if you guys want to be strong. So without further ado, I present to you a competitive Orcust deck profile for this format. So in this video, we'll be going over all of the nuances of an Orcust deck profile, not only this particular build, but some other tech choices you guys could be playing, as well as the budget options, and of course, the reason why I play certain cards. Now, if you guys are a Patreon member, then of course you have seen this video before it has come out, but also on Patreon for everyone to watch, we do have test hands. So starting off with the monsters, we're gonna open up with 3 copies of Orcust Nightmare. The previous builds used to only play 2, and you know, whether you play pure or hybrid, more often than not you play 2 copies of Orcust Nightmare, but having this card in your hand is actually pretty good because you can tutor it to your side of the field or get it to your graveyard to start popping off with your plays. 3 copies of Orcust Harp Horrors. Pure builds normally go towards 3 copies of Harp Horror just because it's the best one. It allows you to special summon Orcust monsters to your side of the field. I do run 2 copies of Symbol Skeleton. Now, we run 2 mainly because once you get this card to the graveyard, it never goes back to the deck. But the more important thing is that we run 2 is that if we do banish it with Gizmek Orochi, you know, it goes face down, we'll never be able to use it again. We'll have a second one so we won't have to panic. Next is 3 copies of Orcust Brass Bombard. This is the new card, not necessarily new, but the card that is now being played inside of competitive Orcust to allow the deck to function. This card plus the Orcust Nightmare or your Harp Horror is full Orcust combo, so it's pretty good, and it's a, you know, a Dark Machine monster. It's a tuner. If you guys do decide to go that route, it can come up. Next is 1 copy of World Legacy World Wand. That is the honorary Orcust card because it allows you to special summon those banished machines back to your side of the field. And then Gizmek Orochi Serpentine Sky Slasher. That is another honorary Orcust monster. This card is an extender. It can trigger your Topologic Bomber Dragon on your opponent's turn. And it's just an amazing card. The 8 cards off of your top of your deck does not matter. And then lastly is 1 copy of our super secret spicy tech Orbital Hydralander. Hydralander is really good in this deck because after you go full Orcust combo, you'll have 5 monsters with different names to be able to special summon Hydralander. And the only cards that we play multiple copies of are extenders, which, I mean, I guess if that happens, it happens. It doesn't happen all the time, especially with Gizmek being able to take care of half of our deck. But if you do mill your Orcust cards and you have Babel on your side of the field, you can chain your Orcust cards before your Hydralander resolves to get them out of your graveyard, your multiple copies, so you can resolve the Hydralander destruction. It's a Dark Machine, it's searchable, it's a level 8. It's literally everything you want for this card. It's amazing in here. Next, for the normal summons, a lot of people tend to run multiple copies of Scrap Recycler and Mathematician. I run 1 and 1. Now, the reason why I only run 1 and 1 is because through testing, just multiple copies of the Mathematician and Scrap Recycler not only conflict with your Orbital Hydralander, but I feel like players are committing way too many normal summons in the deck just to be stopped or like open with a brick full of normal summons. It's just not good. I've always been keen on 5 normal summons inside of a deck that doesn't normal summon a lot. And our 5 normal summons are going to be our Mathematician, Scrap Recycler, Dark Grepher, and Armageddon Knight. This is 4, but our Orcust Nightmare brings us up to 7 pseudo-like because it can be a normal summon for 4 Orcust combo. Dark Grepher is amazing in this deck. You can pretty much get so many ridiculous combos just with the summon of Grepher, so that's pretty good. Moving on, I run 2 copies of Danger Susanoko. This is a deck that can run a full-on Danger engine. Like, you could run the Danger Bigfoots, the Jackalopes, the Nessies. You know, you can run everything because the Dangers work so well with this deck, especially if you're using a Danger effect and you happen to hit a card like Orcust Crescendo. You can go full Orcust combo just off of using a Danger, hitting a Crescendo. I'll show you guys in the combo tutorial. But it gets your cards to the graveyard and draws you cards as well as gets you a monster. A little bit too good to not play. Next is 2 copies of Link Slayer. I was struggling with Should I play Link Slayer, Twin Twisters, or Cosmic Cyclone? Where Cosmic Cyclone does get rid of the threat, it only gets rid of one threat. Twin Twisters can destroy multiple back row, which is great, but Link Slayer can destroy multiple back row and is a monster summon, so against those decks that don't play back row heavy cards, I can, use it for an extra body to start Orcust comboing. I'm still in the, in the middle of, I'm not 100% sure what I want to play, but right now I'm playing Link Slayer. That is it for the monsters. No hand traps. I feel that the only good hand traps right now are Impermanence, Thanos, and Nibiru. And you guys could definitely take some of these cards out, maybe take out Link Slayers or Dangers for the, one of those cards. But other than that, I would not play the hand traps. I think all the other hand traps are pretty trash. Ash is okay, but everything else is like terrible. 3 copies of, well, unless we're talking about Lancia, but that's for a different story. 3 copies of Instant Fusion, 2 copies of Mind Control. This card should be ran in every deck. This is just stupid. Just take an opponent's monster to use for your own. The Orcust deck does it so well because Orcust just need an Orcust monster and then any other monster. And Mind Control takes your opponent's monster, so it's like win-win for you. 2 copies of Orchestrated Return. There has been a debate on should you run 1, should you run 0, 3. I feel like 2 is a really nice sweet spot. Mainly because just opening double in your hand is trash. Like, you never want to open 2 copies of this card, but it does get you in some pretty good situations, especially if your opponent hand traps your initial combo. You can return an Orcust in your graveyard and probably still go full combo. And on top of that, I do need a lot of targets to be able to set to my side of the field with Galatea. We do use that card a lot, and Gizmet can get rid of those cards. 1 Reinforcement Army, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Monster Reborn, and still only 1 copy of Orchestrated Babel. I still don't think you need more than 1. So that is it for these spells. For the traps, this one's a little bit of a hot take. I think that this is the best card of the deck, Orcust Crescendo. And I feel like it should be maxed out in every Orcust deck. So the reason why, especially if you're playing the Danger variant, but the reason why is because 1 Danger, if you activate a Danger and hit the Crescendo, you have full Orcust combo just off of that, and they draw 1. So that's like, that's even free. So like if you open double Crescendo, you use 1 of your Dangers, or you get it to the graveyard, however you want to get it to the graveyard, and then you go full Orcust combo, and then you use the second Crescendo to actually negate your opponent's stuff, and then still have a negation. Like, this card's stupid. If Link Slayer was a dark, it'd be even better, but man, this card's just stupid. You guys should just be running 3. It's like, no debate. This is one of the best cards in the deck. And then lastly, I do run 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. For the people that don't run or can't afford Infinite Impermanence, Ash Blossom isn't a terrible choice. I just don't think it's a great choice. Nibiru is also another great choice. And then Thanos, if for some reason you have those and not the Infinite Impermanence, are also good choices. But that is it for the main board. Just some cards I want to talk about. This deck was actually a Dark Arm Dragon inspired deck. We wanted to be able to manipulate the graveyard, get cards in the graveyard, manipulate them with an Orcust and Orbital Hydrolander, summon Dark Arm, and win the game. It wound up not being a thing just because, space dictated it. But Dark Arm is still fairly easy to summon in this deck. Again, I don't think that this is a bad idea. I just think that you guys are committing too many resources to have like so many normal summons, so you're going to open up with bricks. But the only reason why I ran 1, 1, and 1 is to make Orbital Hydrolander pretty consistent. Your Danger package, this can go even bigger. You can run a Danger Mothman and Chupacabra and all that other stuff. It's like cute, but the problem with Dangers is I feel if you're going to either play Dangers, you can't play hand traps. And if you're going to play hand traps, you can't play Dangers. You can't play both. So I went with the hand traps because I think Infinite Impermanence is really powerful, especially in this deck. So, I cut out the Dangers, but it's up to you. And then lastly, Thanos is amazing because it's level 7. It shuffles your hand. It's a free monster to your side of the field. And that's why I think Thanos is good. Not necessarily for his hand traps effects. On to the extra deck. 1 copy of Orchestration. At first I thought this card wasn't that great because it requires 3 shuffle machines, but there are times where you have to go into a Link 4 and you don't want to make Topologic Bomber Dragon, and Boral Sword Dragon should be saved for, Boral Sword things. So this card's, it's good, it's okay. It's actually pretty good because it negates all Link monsters' effects and turns their attack to 0, but, that's what it is. 1 copy of Topologic Bomby Boy, 1 copy of Boral Sword, Nightmare Unicorn, Lone Girsu, Curious. This card, like, if you resolve Curious and have like the resources to keep going, you win. 3 copies of Galatea. You need 3. I strongly feel you need 3. A lot of players are playing Nightmare Phoenix and Cerberus. I think that that's good. I just didn't have the room. 1 copy of Link Kribo. 2 Dingirsu, 1,000 Eyes Restrict, and 1 Shed All Winda. Now, there are some options that I want to talk to you guys about with extra deck-wise. One was Trisbana, of course, the Nightmare Cerberus. This card is actually really fun in this deck because it's easily summonable. It's your Orcust Brass Bombard plus your Orcust Nightmare, and you can equip a card like Topologic Bomber Dragon to this card or your Galatea to get some free negates. Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos was a card that we really liked in here. But, of course, the Orcust Restriction made it a little harder to summon and, you know, extra deck space. This card is good. I'm going to find a way to put this card in here because bad players are still playing hand traps. And this is one of the very few decks that, like, sometimes if you get hand trapped, you're like, oh, crap, what do I do? Like, a lot of times, especially in this build, you get hand trapped, you're like, I don't really care. I'll keep playing. Like, especially if it's like an Ash. If it's like, you know, Nibiru, then, you know, I mean, it's just how life be. But, yeah. But if it's like an Ash or an Ogre or whatever, you can just play through it. But sometimes you can't. So Millennium Eyes Restrict was a good card. And then, of course, Boral Load Dragon, because it's really good against Thunder. But this deck already has a good matchup against Thunder. That's it for the main board and the extra deck, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you guys a couple of combos. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So this deck has, like, so many ways to do the exact same thing, which is finish on the full Orcust board, having the option to go Topologic Bomber Dragon. Sometimes, depending on if you have other extenders, you can go Bomber Dragon with the Lone Girsu on the field, but worst case scenario, you have Bomber Dragon as well as the field spell with a way to special summon either Dingirsu or to special summon your Lone Girsu to be able to have some disruption. So basically, one of these combos is going to require Brass Bombard and either Orcust Harpour or Orcust Nightmare. Either one of those is full Orcust combo. What you do is you normal summon your Brass Bombard, and then you immediately use it for the Link Summon of Link Kribo, banish your Brass Bombard to special summon your Harpour or your Nightmare to your side of the field, using both of these monsters for a Link Summon into your Galatea. From there, you're going to use the Orcust Harpour's effect to special summon your Orcust Nightmare. And one thing I do want to point out is to never, ever, ever, ever use Galatea in the main monster zone. If your opponent is playing cards like Ghost Ogre or whatever, then you're royally screwed at that point in time if you do use it. But moving forward, we're going to use the Galatea and the Orcust Nightmare for a Link Summon into our Lone Girsu. From there, we're going to use Orcust Nightmare to send our Orcust Symbol Skeletons in the graveyard. And now we'll follow up with our Symbol Skeleton to special summon our Galatea back to our side of the field. Galatea will shuffle in our Orcust Nightmare. And this time around, we can either set the Orcust Babao, which I would do in this point in time, or you can actually set an Orcust Crescendo. Now, we do play 3 copies of Orcust Crescendo, which if I do math correctly, it's a 33% chance that you'll open this card, meaning that you'll probably already have this card in your hand, so go ahead and set the Babel. From there, you go ahead and you make Dingirsu, attach the Symbol Skeleton, and then use your Lone Girsu and your Dingirsu for another Link Summon into your Topologic Bomber Dragon. So with just 2 cards, ladies and gentlemen, you can have access to not only Topologic Bomber Dragon, destroying any monster that is normal summon or special summon to a link, you can special summon Lone Girsu to your side of the field, which while it's linked, can't be destroyed, as well as a little bit of manipulation in their extra monster zone if they ever are able to get rid of the Topo. If they do get rid of the Topo preemptively, well, that's pretty much cool. You banish the Orcust Symbol Skeleton, you can still special summon your Dingirsu to the side of the field for another disruption. All of that is off of 2 cards. Orcust is still really good. So the next combo is the reason why Dark Grepher is a little bit more busted, but this combo can actually be accomplished depending on if you have an additional extender in your hand. It's pretty much the same thing. But in this particular situation, we're going to use Dark Grepher and Orcust Harpour. What we're going to do is normal summon the Dark Grepher, send the Orcust Harpour to send the Orcust Nightmare. I'm going to go ahead and banish the Orcust Nightmare to send the World Wand to my graveyard, and then banish the Harpour to special summon the Symbol Skeleton. These 2 monsters for a Link Summon, right into our Orcust Galatea, and I'm smart, so I'm not going to use Galatea's effect in the main monster zone, extra monster zone, my apologies. I'm going to use the effect of World Legacy World Wand to special summon Harpour back to my side of the field. Using both of these monsters for a Link, I'm going to go ahead and make Lone Girsu. And then I'm going to follow up by using the Orcust Symbol Skeleton to bring back the Galatea. Galatea's effect is going to shuffle the World Legacy World Wand to set the Babel. I'll go ahead and activate that. And then I'll finish up with Dingirsu to attach the Symbol Skeleton. From there, both Lone Girsu and Dingirsu can make the Topologic Bomber Dragon or whatever cards you see fit. So in this particular sequence, it's a little different. And the reason why I'd say it's a little different is because we have complete control over what will be summoned in our opponent's monster zone. Because we can use the effect of Orcust Harpour, we go ahead and banish it to send a card or to special summon a monster like our second copy of Orcust Nightmare to where topologic bomber dragons get the points to destroy our monsters from the field. Then we can follow up and use Orcust Nightmare's effect to send a very clever monster in Gizmek Orochi Serpentine Sky Slasher. Then we can banish 8 cards off the top of our decks, special summon the topologic bomber dragon, or special summon under the topologic bomber dragon. Guess what? We'll destroy all cards. We still haven't even used the Orcust Simple Skeletons effect to be able to special summon the Lone Girsu or the Din Girsu to our side of the field. If our opponent is pretty much tapped out, instead of sending the Gizmek, you can actually send the World Legacy World Wand. Using the Wand's effect, we'll special summon the Harp Horror, and then you can go Orcust combo again. Seriously, this deck does a lot of great things with only 2 cards. And it might seem really simplistic, maybe to some of you glue eaters a little easy to beat, but the deck is consistently good. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. If you guys want to see some test hands with this deck, then I'll have them on my Patreon for everyone to watch. Also, if you guys just want to straight up see a live duel, go ahead and like this video up, show us some love, and let us know that we're doing a pretty good job. Also want to give a mad shout out to every single one of my Patreons. I appreciate every single one of you guys. You guys are awesome. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.